Hey guys, Blaine Cooper with Arizona Border Recon, Tim Naylor. You might have seen him in the movie Cartel Land, and we have come down here with him to help him chase down drug cartel and potential terrorists that are coming across the Arizona-Mexico border. And Tim, why don't you explain a little bit of what you do down here?
We're a licensed corporation in the state. We're licensed as a intelligence gathering organization. What we do is we go out and monitor the dope trails, the scout lookouts. We monitor water drops and things like that, and we pass all the information that we get along to Border Patrol.
Okay, now you're also classified as a non-governmental organization, not a militia, made up of veterans and law enforcement, or former veterans and law enforcement. And some civilians. Very professional from what I have seen. That's why I come down here. Very structured. And now, what is your goal? Where do you see this going?
Long-term goal is to basically get a piece of land, turn it into a training facility so I can train more people on how to do this and do it the right way, and to secure more of the border. Within that property that we're shooting for, we bring in veterans with PTSD, help them, and also if the land is big enough we can open up an animal rescue, which they can both help each other, the veterans with PTSD and the abandoned animals. My goal is to shut it down, but shutting it down, we can do multiple things at the same time and bring good to more and more and more, you know.
Right. Now, the media and government would have us believe that it's humanitarian down here. There's only women and children. But from what I've seen when I've ran the border with you, that there's no women and children coming through this border.
No.
And that it is a very highly active drug ring with drug cartel. And now we're hearing reports of Syrians being caught at the border, which just takes one to get through, who's motivated enough for a terrorist attack to take out and kill innocent people, which what we have seen in Paris. How can we prevent that from happening in our country? And if so, what would you say to a politician if they were willing to work with you to get ideas on how to fix this problem with our immigration?
It can be shut down, but the way the government's trying to do it is basically, don't get me wrong, I believe wholeheartedly and I back the Border Patrol up 100%. The line agents are outstanding in the field. It's once it starts going above the field grade into the bureaucratic nightmare that they're handcuffing the Border Patrol against doing their jobs. The narrative that's out there on the television of women and children and orphans, and you get some of them through here, but not many, because the countryside is so rough in terrain, and they're called drug mules for a reason, because some of the stuff they go over is, you've climbed it. It's a nightmare. So we go out deep into where it's the harshest terrain and try to plug it up to force them out of that terrain into more flat ground where it's easier for Border Patrol to apprehend them. It can be done. I told, if I ever got a politician who would accept me on my offer to come on down, and I'll show it to them, but most politicians say we've seen the border, and my response is, no, I've seen you flying over the border in a helicopter, or you go to where the big media fence is and come on out with me for 2 or 3 days and I'll show you what it's really like where there is no fence. But none of them take you up on that offer. The way to secure this is we have to go back 100 years. And by that I mean 100 years ago we had outposts along the border. And what you would do is you would man the outposts, and then from the outposts you would secure in between the outposts. You have to do it with boots on the ground. You have to do it 24/7. You can't do it. You can do a half-assed job at it, like by having your agents respond all the way out of Tucson, which is an hour-and-a-half drive from the border. So you're figuring an hour-and-a-half drive just to the border, but in where we go, it's another 45 minutes or so to get in there. So you're looking at close to 2 hours coming in and 2 hours going out. So you spent 4 hours out of your shift driving. And so the cost associated with fuel, tires, manpower hours is being wasted. But it's a bureaucracy. But the line agents, when they're out here, they're doing a hell of a job. It's just, it's the thought process that's up above.
And would you believe that they're stretched very thin to be able to be effective as well?
Well, they're just mismanaging how they're using them. They have plenty of agents. They just, from what, my opinion, is they're misusing what they have. They're placing them at airports, they're placing them in hospitals, they're placing them in checkpoints, and you need to bring them down here. But the job description needs to change. They need to build these outposts and go, hey, this is the job. You want the job? You're in the outpost for a week at a time. 1 week on, 1 week off, and you put X amount of guys in there, and they just rotate in and out. But no, you can't do that, because then they would be working over 40 hours a week, which demands, time and a half and all these other federal regulations. And so we can do it privately, because if you have these outposts and you have these unemployed veterans all over the place, they're already trained pretty much. You just have to give them a little more training on how it's done down here. And, we do everything by the law. And so it can be done, but will it be done? Not by the government.
From what I've seen, the what they call the fence only goes so far, and it's really not much of a fence anyway. There was places like where we hiked up to the monument up here. There was no fence there. They could walk right back and forth, and a terrorist could walk right through that border.
Oh yeah, I mean,
with a bomb and kill innocent people.
Well, we have trail cameras out there, and we've seen Somalis on the trail cameras, Sudanese on the trail cameras. Then you've got the 5 Pakistani and 1 Afghani about 20 miles to the west of us who got caught. You got the Syrians in Texas who were caught, and so far, probably within the last 2 weeks, they've caught close to 36 people from known terrorist countries. So if you use Border Patrol's numbers, where they say they apprehend approximately 30%, and if they got 36, how many got through? Who are they? That's our biggest question. We're not against immigration, but immigration the right way.
In which you've had, there have been some organizations and media that have always tried to make us look like the bad guys. These, how do they put it, extremist right-wing gun-toting,
right,
extremist racists, and we're not like that at all. And that we do believe that we have a country to defend of all different races. And our job down here is to defend that border so those innocent people can work and live in peace, and we don't have a Paris situation.
Well, you've seen how porous it is. Like on top of the mountain, the monument, that's all there is. It's just a big white monument denoting the border. But there's miles and miles in between it where there's might be a 4-strand barbed wire fence, there might not be nothing. There might be what we call the Normandy fence, which is basically a vehicle barrier. But vehicle barrier or barbed wire fence doesn't stop anybody. You can walk right past it in a heartbeat. And to slow them down, I mean, and when people call us extremists, I mean, if you consider getting off the couch and doing something extreme, then go ahead, call me an extremist. Because I don't think it's too extreme to get off the couch and do something. And, you know, we've been called everything in the book. Nazis, racists, assassins, and call me whatever you want. I'm just a concerned citizen that loves my country and doesn't want to see it go to hell in a handbasket. And if you don't know who's coming through and you can't vet them, you know, because they're not carrying any ID and they don't have a database from whenever they left their country because we went over there and bombed the shit out of it and there is no record, so you don't know who's who.
Or Reagan once said that a country without borders is not a country at all, or a nation without borders is not a nation at all. Because if you don't have borders, you can't protect from invasion, immigration, or people who would wish to undermine your country.
You have no sovereignty.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening in Europe. You know, since they created the European Union, pretty much you're free to travel anywhere in the European continent. And look what it got them.
Yes,
They've got 100 and some odd, 50 some odd people killed. You know, and it's easy. This thing's hanging wide open. It's like I say, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Now, with the cartel, the drug ring that's being run through the Arizona-Mexican border, and from what I learned from you from running the border, is they like to take these high points up here with their scouts and other positions to network across the area on how to talk in their drug mules so they don't get caught.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, the scouts, or we call them high pointers, they're, how I classify it is it's like air traffic control, calling in the aircrafts, who's ready to land, who's not, but they're drug traffic control. And by taking over their positions on top of these mountains, you pretty much shut it down because you took their eyes away. You and another member went up that one mountain and occupied that for 2 days, and all radio traffic ceased. So we had shut down basically 6 miles of the border by taking over that scout location. And you can't do that with the government's mentality, because if you're driving for 2 hours in and 2 hours out, that's 4 hours, and then it's 4 hours left. And
Talking about shift change.
Right, and so then it takes 2 hours to get up the damn mountain, so you got enough time to drive in, go up the mountain, scare them away for a few minutes, come back down the mountain, get in your truck and drive away. So you're not doing anything. You might slow it down for a couple of hours, but you have to go out there and occupy it.
And it shows you how effective you can actually be with the right mentality, that a group of Americans with the right motives who are doing it humanely and legally can actually lock down and defend the border without conquest or a shot being fired or any loss of life, or and we can keep the drugs from being run through at least that area.
Yep. It's not rocket science. I mean, they're trying to get shit through. If you take their eyes away, they're running blind. They have a higher percentage chance of being apprehended and all their drugs seized. And, you know, we rely too much on high technology, you know, and they're beating high tech with low tech. So to beat low tech, you have to go back to low tech, and that's doing the grunt work. And I'm finding by being out there for 5 years now that that's the only way you're going to stop it.
What do you see going into the future from now? I mean, now you had the movie Cartel Land come out, and another documentary that's being shot and with the people from France now. Where do you see this going, and where do you hope it will go?
Well, that's, I don't know where it's going, or because that's all up to basically the general public, because this is all funded out of my own pocket, and also the volunteers that come out of their own pocket. So to keep pushing it forward, you know, you need money to buy better gear, better communications equipment, night vision and stuff like that, so that you can actually put a bigger and how would I say it?
It'd be more effective and
Yeah, but it costs money and it takes donations, from people. And although, we have a Facebook page and everything else, and we have thousands of people following us and liking us, our donations are averaging about $80 a month, and it's running me about $1,200 a month to keep this going.
it's not free to come down here and do what we do. That it does take our own money. It takes time away from our families sometimes, but we care about our country that much that we're willing to make that sacrifice. But we do need the help with donations. I would say people don't mind paying their taxpayers to the government.
Yeah.
It certainly shouldn't mind putting some donations in for people like you and others who are coming down here, who are really doing a lot of hard work running these mountains, trying to close that gap with the drug cartel, potential terrorists, and others who would wish to do the American people harm.
Well, it's like I don't know if people think that when we ask for a donation, they expect $100, $200, and we're not looking for that. I mean, say, look, we got almost 4,000 people following us on Facebook. Even if every one of them did a 50-cent a month reoccurring payment, that's $2,000 a month. So at $2,000 a month, there's another set of night vision every month that we can start issuing to more and more people to make it more and more effective. Or $2,000 a month, that's another 8 trail cameras. They're $250 a piece. It's phenomenal what we could do, and we're not asking for a lot. $1 a month. It's not much. And I've got over, I'd say in the 5 years, close to $100,000 of my own money into this. And everybody always asks me, well, you need to go out there and push the donations and everything else. And I don't know, maybe that's my problem, because it's a pride thing. And because sometimes asking for donations to me seems like you're begging. And I don't like to beg. And I was taught that you work for what you want, but I worked for what I wanted for, but it all fell apart, and so I took whatever I had left, and now I put it all into this. And
it's almost like you've made a sacrifice and leap of faith to defend your country. You've done what you could, and now you need help from the public to continue that dream that you have of defending this nation from potential terrorists and others who don't respect our laws and want to undermine our country.
This is happening 24/7 down here. I live down here. You can look.
Bad guys don't get a day off.
Yeah, I'm looking out the window and staring at the fence. That's how close to the border I am. I mean, last week, 150 yards from my front door, I turned in 560 pounds of dope. The following night, 150 yards to the east, 160 pounds of dope. It's everywhere. And what I see is most people have the mindset that it's not affecting them. With the drugs coming across in the cartel activity, what it ends up doing is they're aligned and associated with street gangs in their cities or towns or whatnot, and so that's actually
and drugs in the school, drug addictions with our children,
heroin overdoses,
our own citizens, and
so it's already beyond the front door.
Well, I want to thank you very much for the interview, and also it's an honor to be down here running with you. When I come down here, it's just I think it's some of the best experiences of my life, and
cool.
I thank you for that, letting me come down, and hopefully we can make a difference.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming down and trying to help get the word out. And all your this dude here, Blaine, he humped some hellacious mountains this past week, and look, I was out there for 9 days, so time for a shower and a shave.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, Blaine.
Thank you, Tim.